Welcome back to the Dinar Daily, your dedicated hub for navigating the complex and rapidly evolving landscape of Iraq's economic recovery. Today, we are diving into a comprehensive breakdown of the electrifying reports that have recently flooded the financial information space. For years, observers have been meticulously tracking the trajectory of the Iraqi dinar, waiting for signs of a structural shift that could signal the nation's return to international prominence. Currently, the atmosphere among financial analysts and regional observers is heavy with anticipation as multiple sources suggest that the long-discussed monetary reform process may be entering a decisive operational phase. We are seeing a convergence of data points from the halls of the Central Bank of Iraq to the trading desks of global financial institutions that indicate the country is moving away from theoretical planning and toward the completion state of its financial restructuring. This is not just about rumors. It is about analyzing the tangible steps Iraq is taking to reclaim its economic sovereignty. Over the last 72 hours, the volume of discussion regarding Iraq's currency strategy has intensified significantly, driven by reports that the nation has transitioned into what experts call the technical revaluation phase. This terminology is crucial for anyone following this story to understand, as it distinguishes between public perception and back-end reality. While we have not yet seen a global change in the exchange rate on public forex boards, insiders suggest that the critical internal systems required to support such a change are now reportedly fully operational. This phase involves the synchronization of digital activation networks, the alignment of national budget parameters, and the completion of institutional-level audits. Essentially, before a currency can be revalued on the global stage, the structural foundation must be flawless, and reports indicate that the Central Bank of Iraq, in coordination with international oversight bodies, is currently finalizing these detailed reconciliations to ensure the system is robust enough to handle a new valuation. This specific juncture in the monetary reform process is often referred to within banking circles as the handshake moment. This metaphorical term describes the precise point where Iraq's domestic currency systems align perfectly with international clearing standards, allowing for seamless interoperability. Unlike previous cycles of optimism that were largely driven by speculation, the current wave of reports is grounded in legal and procedural confirmations that suggest a higher level of readiness. The focus here is on the synchronization of dollar reserves, oil export income, and foreign debt exposure, ensuring that every liability and asset is accounted for before the switch is flipped. It is a period of intense technical scrutiny where the Central Bank of Iraq and international auditors ensure that the digital ledger matches the physical reality of the nation's wealth. This is the invisible work that must occur before any visible changes can be announced to the wider world. A massive component of this renewed confidence stems from the recent publication and ratification of Iraq's 70 trillion dinar budget. This document is far more than a simple list of government expenditures. It serves as a legally binding roadmap for the nation's strategic economic independence. For decades, Iraq's budgets were constructed with extreme caution, prioritizing stability and inflation control over growth, typically utilizing conservative exchange rate assumptions. However, the newly ratified framework for the 2025 and 2026 fiscal years introduces a markedly different philosophy. Parliamentary discussions and leaks from the Finance Committee indicate that this budget is designed for expansion, channeling unprecedented levels of funding into energy infrastructure, technological modernization, and social reform. This aggressive spending plan suggests that Iraqi policymakers are no longer operating in a survival mode, but are instead pivoting towards sustainable development and economic leadership in the region. What makes the 70 trillion dinar budget particularly fascinating to economic analysts is the modeling methodology that likely underpins these massive allocations. When a nation commits to such extensive spending, the budget projections are typically based on specific rate assumptions regarding the local currency's purchasing power. Economic historians and regional analysts have pointed out that the sheer volume of reinvestment into productive sectors, such as oil diversification, gas capture, and agriculture, implies that the budget was calculated with an expectation of a stronger national currency. This transition from crisis management to proactive expansionism signals that Iraq considers its intrinsic assets and fiscal capacity robust enough to sustain stronger liquidity. The budget is essentially a statement of confidence, suggesting that the government believes the dinar can and should command a more competitive valuation to support the importation of technology and services required for this massive reconstruction effort. One of the most persistent and discussed topics in recent days revolves to the alleged involvement of the United States Treasury in finalizing a new rate. It is vital to approach this subject with nuance and strict adherence to factual reporting. To date, there has been no official press release or public statement from the U.S. Department of the Treasury confirming a specific revaluation rate for the Iraqi dinar. However, credible economic researchers believe that the ongoing technical coordination meetings between Iraqi officials and U.S. representatives have produced what is known as an exchange protocol rate. This is not necessarily the final public rate, but rather an internal test rate used to calibrate digital banking systems, cross-border clearing channels, and budgetary simulations. It serves as a benchmark for testing how the global financial architecture would react to a change in the dinar's value. Understanding the role of the U.S. Treasury requires recognizing the distinction between dictating policy and ensuring compliance. While the Treasury does not unilaterally set the value of a sovereign nation's currency, it plays a massive role in influencing how global clearing systems interpret and validate that rate. The United States maintains significant oversight regarding the flow of dollars and the prevention of money laundering, meaning that Iraq's monetary systems must be fully integrated with U.S. approved platforms. If Iraq has indeed completed its internal fiscal audits and reconciliations, it is highly plausible that the Treasury's international settlement systems now hold an operational input value ready for synchronization. This means that while a final rate may not be publicly confirmed, the existence of a specific value within the technical framework indicates that the monetary architecture is structurally aligned and awaiting the political and economic conditions for activation. Another topic that has set the internet ablaze is the rumor of an 18-hour exchange window. This phrase has circulated widely in chat rooms and forums, leading to some confusion about its meaning. It is important to clarify that this likely does not refer to a limited time frame in which the public must exchange their currency. Instead, industry observers suggest that this terminology refers to a systemic test cycle conducted between select Tier 1 global banks and digital asset infrastructure providers. These 18-hour windows are essentially stress tests designed to evaluate liquidity, synchronization, and settlement timing within international banking frameworks. It is a technical duration used to ensure that when a payment is initiated under new protocols, it settles correctly across different time zones and banking ledgers without errors or delays. The specific mention of 18 hours is derived from standard operational test bursts associated with the ISO 20022 cross-border payment system. In the world of high-level international finance, a complete liquidity cycle, from the initiation of a transaction to the final settlement confirmation, often takes between 12 and 18 hours to fully propagate through the global network during a testing phase. By running these controlled simulations, central banks and clearinghouses can evaluate how currency data, transaction verification, and asset conversion mechanisms perform under real-time pressures. Therefore, when you hear about this window, it is best interpreted as a sign of back-end infrastructural readiness and testing rather than a countdown clock for retail investors to rush to a bank. It indicates that the plumbing of the financial system is being pressure tested to ensure it can handle the flow of a revalued currency. Despite the excitement surrounding these technical tests, it is crucial to remain grounded in the current reality of the retail banking sector. As of this moment, major United States banking institutions such as J.P. Morgan Chase, Citibank, and Wells Fargo have not released any official statements confirming their participation in a public dinar exchange program. The uptick in interbank chatter and the reports of test activities are significant indicators of progress, but they do not equal a public green light. Credible analysts urge caution against interpreting internal bank testing as an immediate public offering. The infrastructure for larger liquidity operations is advancing quietly behind the scenes, but until there is a formal authorization and public announcement, the retail exchange environment remains unchanged. The focus remains on the institutional preparation that must precede any public access. Looking at the broader economic picture, the administration of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani continues to demonstrate a clear strategic intent to transform Iraq into a diversified and regionally competitive economy. Throughout the past year, the government has executed a series of bilateral agreements with key trading partners, including China, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. A critical aspect of these partnerships is the move toward partial settlement models that bypass the U.S. dollar, allowing for transactions in local currencies or hybrid digital payment mechanisms. This diversification is a major step toward strengthening the dinar's functional relevance in regional trade networks. By reducing the sole reliance on the dollar for every transaction, Iraq is creating a natural demand for its own currency, which is a fundamental requirement for long-term value appreciation. The tangible assets backing the Iraqi dinar also continue to reinforce the nation's financial credibility. Recent reports indicate that Iraq's oil production capacity has climbed to approximately 4.8 million barrels per day, bolstered by new exploration projects and joint ventures in key regions like Basra. Perhaps even more significant is the accumulation of gold reserves, which have now surpassed 145 metric tons. This positions Iraq among the top reserve holders in the Middle East and underscores the fact that the currency is supported by real, tangible wealth. When a nation possesses this level of natural resources and gold reserves, it provides the economic underpinnings necessary for confidence in currency stability. These assets serve as a buffer against volatility and a foundation upon which a revalued currency can stand securely in the global marketplace. Parallel to the resource expansion is the government's commitment to a complete digital transformation of the economy. The implementation of smart logistics, financial technology integration, and e-governance systems highlights a deliberate pivot towards sustainable modernization. This is not merely about convenience. It is about creating an audit trail and reducing the corruption that has historically plagued the Iraqi economy. By digitizing ports of entry and tax collection systems, Iraq is ensuring that government revenue actually reaches the Treasury. This increased fiscal discipline is a prerequisite for a stronger currency, as it demonstrates to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank that Iraq has the mechanisms in place to manage a monetary unit responsibly and transparently. At the very center of this modernization effort stands the Central Bank of Iraq, the principal authority responsible for monetary policy. The CBI recent communications have emphasized an accelerated focus on transparency and integration with global financial systems. One of the most ambitious initiatives is the Digital IQD project, which aims to link Iraq's domestic banking accounts with international SWIFT and IBAN standards under the ISO 20022 protocol. This technological leap is designed to create seamless interoperability between Iraq's financial infrastructure and global clearing networks. Such integration enables faster and more secure cross-border transactions, which is essential for a country looking to welcome foreign investment and facilitate international trade at a high volume. Analysts argue that these infrastructure upgrades are the strongest evidence of intent regarding a currency revaluation. You simply do not invest billions of dollars into advanced banking technology, anti-fraud software, and blockchain-based transaction monitoring unless you anticipate a currency that is active and valuable on the global stage. A weak, hyper-inflated currency does not require such sophisticated rails. A globally traded, strong currency does. The alignment with IMF data transparency initiatives indicates that Iraq's monetary authorities are actively building toward international credibility. As this modernization deepens, the CBI technological readiness becomes a reliable signal that the currency's evolution is transitioning from conceptual preparation to practical implementation within the global financial architecture. To provide a balanced view of what lies ahead, it is valuable to consider the perspectives of international economists regarding the trajectory of the dinar. Several experts suggest that while the excitement for an overnight windfall is understandable, the economic reality may point toward a gradual appreciation. Layla Roman, a senior researcher, emphasizes that fiscal discipline will likely drive value first, followed by oil-backed leverage as exports stabilize. This perspective suggests that the revaluation may not be a singular event, but a process where the currency strengthens in steps as the economy proves its resilience. This stair-step approach allows the market to adjust without shocking the local economy or causing rapid capital flight. Other experts, such as Robert Kine, a former advisor specializing in post-sanction economies, propose that Iraq's next logical step could be the adoption of a controlled float mechanism. This would allow the dinar to adjust incrementally within a managed corridor, potentially fluctuating against the U.S. dollar based on market supply and demand. This method offers flexibility and allows the central bank to intervene if the currency becomes too volatile. Meanwhile, strategists like Samar Naji frame the narrative within the context of national reconstruction, viewing Iraq as transitioning from a post-conflict recovery model into a credit-backed investment-grade economy. Despite differing forecasts on the exact mechanism, the consensus among these experts is unified on one principle: Iraq's currency is on a clear trajectory towards strength. For the investor community, discernment has become the most valuable tool in navigating this information landscape. With social media amplifying every whisper into a potential headline, it is increasingly vital to distinguish credible data from crowd-driven hype. Reliable information begins with verifiable sources, such as official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq, documented bulletins from the IMF, and transparent reports from established global financial news outlets. The ongoing revaluation dialogue extends beyond just a numeric rate change. It represents the unfolding of Iraq's transformation into a stable economic power. Investors who prioritize education and factual observation will always be better positioned than those who chase rumors based on emotion. One of the most transformative aspects of Iraq's recent history is the digital banking revolution that has redefined how the nation handles its internal finances. Since early 2025, the central bank has implemented mandatory electronic salary payments for government employees, effectively eliminating outdated cash-based disbursement models. This shift is massive because cash-based systems were historically vulnerable to ghost employees and corruption. By forcing payments through digital channels, the government can track every dinar, ensuring that liquidity remains within the banking system rather than being hoarded in private safes or smuggled out of the country. This accumulation of liquidity within the banks strengthens their balance sheets and provides the capital necessary for lending and economic growth. Furthermore, the expansion of the national smart card network has connected millions of Iraqi citizens to electronic banking for the first time. This financial inclusion is a critical metric for international rating agencies. When a population moves from being unbanked to banked, the velocity of money increases, and the central bank gains better control over monetary policy. Integration with global payment providers like MasterCard and Visa further signals that Iraq is open for business. These developments are not cosmetic. They are the fundamental building blocks of a modern economy. They signal to the world that Iraq is operating within a transparent and compliant framework, which is essential for attracting the foreign direct investment needed to rebuild the nation. It is also important to address the community aspect of this investment journey. The Dinar community has grown into a global network of individuals united by a shared interest in Iraq's economic potential. From the United States to the Middle East, thousands of people analyze documents and share knowledge daily. This collective effort to understand complex financial geopolitics is a testament to the human desire for progress. However, it is vital that this community remains grounded. The true value of following this story lies not just in the potential financial outcome, but in the understanding of how nations rebuild. It is a lesson in resilience, demonstrating how a country can rise from conflict to become a stabilized economic player through strategic planning and resource management. Ultimately, the key to understanding the current status of the Iraqi dinar lies in following the data, not the drama. The official rate tables published by the central bank remain the single most credible source for any valuation change. Monitoring the Iraqi Gazette is equally important, as this is where laws and budgets become official. Often, the clues to a currency shift are buried in the legal text of a budget amendment or a new banking regulation long before they appear on a fork screen. By watching these official data points along with U.S. Treasury statements regarding monetary harmonization, observers can get a factual pulse on where things stand. As we conclude this update, the message is one of perspective and informed patience. Iraq's economic engine is turning, and the signs of progress are undeniable. The implementation of the massive budget, the protocol meetings with international Treasury officials, and the robust testing of digital payment windows are not random occurrences. They are indicators of a structured, deliberate plan. These steps point toward an economy that is preparing to integrate into the global system with renewed strength. As observers, our role is to interpret this evidence responsibly. We must remember that major national transformations do not happen overnight. But the momentum currently visible in Iraq is unlike anything seen in previous years. The convergence of fiscal discipline, resource expansion, and digital modernization forms a credible foundation for the financial evolution we have all been waiting for. Whether the final step happens tomorrow or unfolds over the coming months, the trajectory is clear. Iraq is reclaiming its status and the financial world is taking notice. Thank you for tuning in to the Dinar Daily, where we will continue to monitor these developments with the scrutiny and seriousness they deserve. Stay informed, stay critical, and keep your eyes on the official sources.